An in-swinger from this side, and he puts it in towards the near post, and it's flicked on, and it comes off the hand of Gambazunu and into the back of the net. It's a goal for Serbia. It's been headed in by Sergej Milinkovic-Savic into the far post from the near post area. That's a brilliant header from an excellent corner kick. Gambazunu got a glove to it. I thought he was going to push it out, but unfortunately for him, too much power in it, and it gets into the back of the net. It's Ireland 0, Serbia 1. Here's Robinson putting a cross in. It's not a doubt.
Yes!
It's a goal for Ireland. It's a goal for Ireland after 86 minutes. And it's Shane Duffy in the box, causing problems like a wrecking ball.
It's the morning after the night before, like a wrecking ball. All right, Stephen Doyle in the company of Stewie Byrne at the Aviva Stadium last night. It's the morning after the night before. What are your views of what happened at the Aviva Stadium last night? And there are plenty of disparate views this morning. Where exactly is the soul of Irish football on this Wednesday morning? We're going to bring you lots of conversation about that over the course of the next couple of hours. I'm joined in the studio, delighted to say, by Johnny Ward. Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning, Adrian. Good to be here.
And Johnny was at the game last night, so I'll have plenty to chat to us about that, including the atmosphere and how good it was there last night. We'll get around to that in just a little bit. Also delighted to say at 7:30 this morning, Stephen Hunt. Good morning to you.
Morning, Adrian.
What's your view on where the 1-1 draw with Serbia overrun at the very least last night, but a 1-1 draw, everybody leaves, I suspect, somewhat happy. Your view on where the soul of Irish football is this morning?
Yeah, I just think a little bit almost after a party to a certain degree a couple of years ago, and then now we're just getting to reality, and we've just got to realise where we're at, where we're going, and be ready to go again next month. I don't think we're in a bad place, Adrian. I really don't.
Yeah, like there are a lot of positives to take out of last night. It feels like in a lot of ways it was a sort of game that if you went into the game feeling that it was time for Stephen Kenny to go, you'd have plenty to endorse that, and if you were of the view that Stephen Kenny should hang around and it's a project and he's got to be given time, there's plenty to endorse that too.
Yeah, if you're talking to me about that, Adrian, yes. I agree there's more to come from Stephen Kenny's team, a lot more to come from the players, some real positive signs, and hopefully now we can look forward and realise that Stephen has got this bunch of young players up to a level now where they needed to get to. No matter who came in, to be honest with you, I always said it needed 4 years. So even if Mourinho had come in, I still think he would have needed this time to get this level of players up to where they want to get to and then go again.
Jeez, don't be afflicting Jose on us, Hunty. That's not a place I want to be this morning.
Maybe the style of play is a little bit different, of course, but you know what I mean by that, Adrian. I just think we needed some time to bed in. And listen, most of the time these players see Ronaldo on FIFA, and that's what they've been playing for the last 10 years of their lives. They're only 17 to 19 years of age, most of the young players. So they're there beside him now in reality. They've had the experience, they'll be better for it, and let's go forward.
A healthy sort of difference of opinion across a lot of the newspapers today, and the opinion last night, social media, the TV and everywhere else about exactly what happened in the game last night. What's your view? Were we battered, as some would have it?
I think you put it into perspective who we're playing against. Listen, I think Azerbaijan was the biggest disappointment. We didn't win the game. Serbia have got some really good quality players in the team. So it's going to be a bit more of a matchup, a bit more of a quality versus quality to a certain degree. Vlasic is the new Harry Kane to a certain degree. I think Spurs, if they had sold him, would have went full tilt to get Vlasic. So you look at that, you look at the centre-forward pair, and Mitrovic and Vlasic, and they're real good quality. So you judge them against each team and you respect each team as you go along. And yes, last night, parts of the game we struggled. I think the second half we went a bit flat, and I think the substitutions helped us raise and go again. So I'm not too sure what we expect at the moment. But all these young players coming in for the last year and a half, I just think we need a bit of a reality check and put it into a football perspective without the emotions of supporting Ireland, which we all love, obviously, and take it from there.
Like Serbia is a population, Hunty, of 7 million, I think, give or take. How do we play like them? Because, you know, it was a pleasure to see the way they played football last night, and, you know, their technical ability, their little 1-2s that we were a little bit bamboozled at times. Will we ever play like that?
Yes is the answer. I believe these young players have a lot to go on the international stage, but I think for these young players going back now, they have a lot to go to get into their first teams back home. It's okay saying Adam White has had 3 good games and he's going to go back to Norwich, but but he's going to come back in the same situation in 6-7 weeks if he doesn't play games. So we need him to play games. Gavin Bazuna has gone to League One to get regular football as a goalkeeper, and you can see already his second season as a young goalkeeper, he's progressing. So I think we can play that way. We can play neat 1-2s. We played some good football last night in terms of trying to be inventive and not panic on the ball instead of kicking it long. He doesn't want him to kick it long. That's clear to see. I see some people say, oh, we booted it. We didn't boot it long in the last 5 minutes when we're losing a goal, and under instructions from the manager, the players stuck to it. So I do believe we will play a tidy style of play, and we've got to find a way. Stephen's got to find a way of getting the wins under his belt playing this way.
Yeah. And on that, because I think that's a really important point that we should get into over the course of the morning, because there's far too much time spent debating whether Kenny, I think, should stay or go on. Not enough time debating the details of it. So, on that point, and you mentioned about being flat in the second half, and on the opportunity for us to score goals, it's not newsflash, and it ain't going anywhere anytime soon. When you looked at the game last night and our capacity, just interesting listening to the reaction about whether we were battered or we were overrun. It was some version of either of those, but certainly we had we had plenty of ability to get the ball into the final third, but when we get there, there's very little that can be done, and I don't think Adam Ida, certainly in the role, he may have the capacity to score a goal every other game, but the role he's playing, that doesn't look likely. How do we solve that one?
Games, unfortunately, is going to be a little bit of suffering by playing regular games. If Adam Ida is coming into a team full of 10 experienced players and he's just popping in, he can afford then to stay away from the ball and allow our players, if we have better players, to get up the pitch and stay in the box. But Adam Ida done a good job for the team over the 3 games. He was a very consistent threat in behind and was a consistent good hold of play that he had. He allowed us to get up the pitch as well. And I think over the 3 games, he'll be the one that will go back and say, I've done my best. But to get more goals, I said that we've constantly scored goals from set pieces over the last 30 years. We needed to score more. We did score a couple of goals from set pieces. Well, Duffy was a cross as well, and Egan was definitely a set piece. So I think we need to chip in with goals. And then once the confidence comes and the games are under your belt, then we will find a way of scoring goals from outfield.
I think with Ida as well, Hunty, he was so exposed in terms of lack of support when the ball was hit long to him. He was basically like a man out in the middle of the ocean. And over the 3 games, I think he will have learned a lot in terms of just the hard games that you're going to have at international level. But I think you'd argue that he will learn from this as well, because he had 3 very different games in many respects.
Yeah, he did, and I said a couple of years ago now that I think Adam Ida, of all the strikers, has the blinkers on. He's really focused on having a career for himself. You can tell by him, his body language. So he will be working every day, day in, day out, to get better. He did mix his game up in the 3 games. That's why I said he was a threat in behind, and he was coming short, and he was winning free kicks. This will do him the world of good. He'll now look at his record and go, okay, I just needed to add some goals to it. I think you're going into a team where you're just trying to please the manager. You're not thinking about yourself. You want to do well for the team. And then all of a sudden, after the 4 or 5 games, you go, I'm not having this. I've got no goals. I'm going to be a little bit more selfish for myself. If they want to get the ball to me, I've got to be in the box and I've got to score some goals myself.
One question on that, Hunty. How do we get more then? We leave this window and we go, look, the obvious players that have done brilliantly for us, and he's one of them. But how do we leave it saying, how do we get more out of Adam Ida?
I think Adam has to stay away from the ball over time. Not so much now, because I think our team is in transition. It's not in a good moment where we want to be, and I'm sure we want to be better in that way. When we play out from the back, I always look at it and go, okay, how are we going to score a goal by playing this way? So obviously by playing out of the back and the way we do, you're trying to suck teams onto you to leave gaps in between. At the moment, there's too much of a gap between the back 3 and the wing backs to the centre forward. If we have more players just off Adam, or we're treading balls through the line, we need then the likes of Horgan, the likes of Hendricks, playing in the little pockets and then carrying the ball at the defence. You need runners in the team, pretty much, and you need ball dribblers. Hazard. Look at Lukaku, say, for example, a good example of he can come short or he can go long. He needs boys in the hole that will allow him then to make them runs that are going to be straight in on goal instead of down the side, instead of holding it up. He just needs better players in the pockets to be able to, not better players, that's wrong to say on the Irish lads, just to be able to carry the ball better and get in better positions by playing our way.
Who are the best players that you've seen then over the last 3 games and maybe even a little bit beyond to fulfil those roles for Ireland?
Yeah, it's a good. I think Jamie McGrath, having just come into the team and having been playing Scottish football, has done really well over the couple of games he played. I think Darrell Horgan, even though he's playing League One, carries the ball very well in tight situations. So we're going to have to try and get these players. I'd say Darrell Horgan, for example, is a Johnny Williams of Wales. He's playing League One he's playing League Two actually, Swindon, but he managed to get on the ball for Wales the other night and get in pockets and play through balls. So we've got to find a way. Not very glamorous the names, I know, in terms of Premier League players. Darrell Horgan is not at the moment, but he is a very good ball dribbler. There's players like Jamie McGrath. I just think we need a little bit more of an injection of pace in that position. Yes, we have the Malumbis, we have the Jason Knight who's injured, Josh Collins to do the dog work and to be good for the team. And then you obviously need a bit more of a number 10 to get into positions.
You're badly missing Ogbene as well, weren't you? Because like that, as you say, we'd four narrow midfielders who wouldn't be necessarily blessed with pace. That link between defence, attack, midfield wasn't there. And like Ogbene was one of these players that, like, we shouldn't forget the impact that he would have had. Pace is so important. That any level pace will do you like a big service against a tiring defence. We didn't have him.
Yeah, and even if you're picking up balls in central areas and you're carrying it wide, you're creating space then for the wing backs to get in behind us more. We just need a bit more. I think Aaron Connolly long term will be that number 10 that plays in the hole, that drifts out wide after a few games. I think he'll become better. But again, I go back to it. You need
Connolly have the game intelligence though. Like, it just doesn't seem to be there to me.
It's just not there at the moment based on the games. I think the Portugal game was a real good example where he got in positions for the counter-attack, looked really dangerous, and then just fluffed his lines at the last minute. That can happen as a young player. I think over time, with more games and more focus, that he will then become a better player. Now, Connolly has question marks going back to his club, from clubs in England. He needs to realise where he's at, how lucky he is, and take it from there. I don't think he's a bad lad. I just think he needs to go, right, okay, I've got some real good attributes. How am I going to use them, and when am I going to use them? And when I get my chance at Brighton, I need to stay in the team. And then when I go with Ireland, I need to bring that Premier League quality, which eventually he'll have to do. And I'm not putting the pressure on him now, but eventually he'll have to bring that quality that he has to the table.
Yeah, I don't know, against Portugal, how he wasn't lashing the ball in behind 47-year-old Pepe and having a bit of a pop at him. You've only got a couple of minutes. You're probably off in the school run now in a few minutes, but we want to give you an opportunity. Your boy, Matt Doherty, it's been a brilliant window for him.
My boy, Matt Doherty, my good friend / known him a long time.
Well, you were saying it was your son, I think, the last time when you were on with
yeah,
Nate.
he is. Like, I felt bad for his dad actually, because his dad loves him very much. Like, so no, he is. I know him very well. We get on really well. I think he has a big season ahead of him. He played well last night. He's been playing well in the games. The last 3 games have really shown his quality in terms of in possession, especially, and in defensive. In Portugal, he was excellent. It goes to show defenders don't have to make tackles to win the ball back. You can allow centre forwards, you can allow wingers to give you the ball if they're not good enough. So these are very good games. I think Seamus did well in the games. I think he'd be disappointed and probably close down for the shot better, but knowing Seamus, he'll know that himself. And listen, we're okay. I think we're not in a great position. I think the 3 games coming up, we need to get some points on the board and try and finish above Luxembourg if we can. If not, it'll be forever with the players. So they've got big games coming up.
That is where we're at the moment.
At the minute. What's Matt or any of the rest of them saying to you about I see his quotes here last night about the quality of the coaching and very praiseful of the quality of the coaching they're getting with Ireland. What's he saying to you about the coaching staff?
Saying they're all useless. Of course not. He's literally said to me the last time, and Matt's pretty straight, when I played golf with maybe just before he come back for pre-season, and he was really impressed with the coaches, how they're going about it, how they're trying to change things. Listen, Stephen Kenny's been really brave. He's changed a lot of the backroom staff, and a lot of familiar faces would have went with that, including all different bits and pieces behind the scenes. I think they felt like it was needed to be done. Now they've had their time to bed in with their bits and pieces, like finally getting their coaching across. I think when you go from Mick and Martin, who are man managers, are very well organised teams, don't get me wrong, and very good coaches, to a Stephen Kenny where you have new ideas, it's not new to the players because they're used to playing it over here, but new ideas coming into, like any new manager, and you try and enforce it too quick, it can be a problem as well. So I think they've realised now that they're allowing the players to be able to go forward, but also this is what we have to do defensively as well. So they're giving them a lot of information to take on board. I think they're finally getting it and they're beginning to enjoy it.
Yeah, I think that's crucial in terms of the decisions that are made from here on out. Stephen, I know you got to go. Thanks a million.
Cheers, Adrian.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Stephen Hunt on the line there, reacting to the 1-1 draw with Serbia at the Aviva Stadium last night. It is 8:15. It's Wednesday morning. It's OTB AM. We're brought to you by Gillette. Good morning. Start with Gillette. Put your best face forward.